Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, Gavin. Nice to see you.
Our graphics guy got a little jumpy. Nice to see you too. We're here today talking about your crime caper, the little dark comedy called The Elusive Man, which is now on Reveel'd. This is a film that I hadn't seen, so this wasn't on my radar. A lot of times I try to pay attention to what's happening with fellow Canadian filmmakers. This one I missed, but I have to say I loved it. It's got a bit of like a Elmore Leonard kind of feel to it. Just all these bizarro characters that end up caught up in a little story. But in your own words, so I don't butcher it, just explain to the audience what the film's about and how it came to be.
Okay, well, maybe I'll start with how it came to be. I co-wrote and co-directed this with my friend Marc Roussel, and we met on actually at the airport on the way to England to work on a film. He had we were on ill-fated film, but he basically was replacing someone who got fired the day before, and I was only supposed to work 2 weeks for a guy that had been fired the week before, and we ended up both working in London, England together for about 5 months. So during that time, we got talking about making films, and he had already written, I think, the script for Remote, and he wanted to shoot that when we got back. So I co-produced and edited that film for him. And then he came forward and he said, hey, there's this film competition happening online, and it's 5 minutes, and you have to write something. It's got to contain a Polaroid, a red phone, and a severed ear. And I said, Mark, I'm not into competitions. Let's just make the film and whatever. So we make the film, and I thought it was a bit bigger. So then we sat back and we wrote a much larger script together. And he has great horror sensibilities, and my expertise would be more comedy and dark comedy. So this was going to be a meeting of those two styles together. It's not easy working with someone, but it's easy working with because we've become pretty great friends, and we ended up doing a lot of films together. So the Elusive Man. Right. Yeah. So the Elusive Man, I think, is the best of what we did together.
How many projects have you collaborated on? We did talk to Marc on the show about Remote, so that's in a previous episode that people can find.
You know what? I don't know. It maybe 10 or 12 short films. Some of them just a couple of minutes, and some of them longer.
It means it's a lot when you can't remember. I once met a woman who was a script supervisor on a commercial that I was working on in Los Angeles, and she used to be Steven Spielberg's script supervisor. And somebody told me that she had been given little cameo roles in all of the films she worked on with Spielberg. So I asked her on a lunch break if it was true, and she was telling me a bit about it. I'm like, well, what films? And she starts naming. She gets to like 5. She's like, Catch Me If You Can, Jurassic Park. She's going through them all. She goes, I can't remember. I said, I can tell you that you are the only actor on the planet who can't remember how many Steven Spielberg movies they've acted in. That is a rare problem to you and you alone.
Yeah, well, I ended up with bit parts as we all do in short films. But in Elusive Man, I played the German general as they're stealing the artwork. And someone posted a picture of me up on Facebook in that outfit, and I think I was banned for about 2 weeks until they realized I was just acting. I wasn't actually a Nazi.
I had a similar thing with testing Coca-Cola and brown sugar as a heroin in a spoon, and I had to say that I don't need help. I don't need counseling and all these things to get my account back. What is the, because this is an interesting thing. I don't think I've talked to anybody who's co-directed before on the show. What is the key to successfully co-directing with somebody?
Well, I think that we had blocked, and because we had written the story together and we knew it fairly well, sometimes Marc would do a scene while I would be blocking and working and getting ready to direct the next scene. The body of this film was shot 24 hours straight. Like, it wasn't a 24-hour straight film competition. It was literally the other producer, Ron Bosch, who acts in the film, had done a deal where we could rent a huge amount of film gear for next to nothing, in a few cases of beer, but we could only have it for one day. So we shot in Marc Roussel's friend's industrial chain manufacturing factory. And it was a weird building, but it just meant that while the actors were shooting and filming one scene, I was blocking and preparing the next scene so we could just roll from one scene to another. But we did go 24 hours straight. And it was such a brutal day. And this was day two, because we did the montage on the first day. This is day two. I had a friend who volunteered to be on it. When I dropped him off, it's like 7 o'clock the next morning. He just said, "Marc, next time you're doing a film, don't call me."
It's yeah, it's I mean it's funny, you know, we'd never fly on a union shoot, but it's the nature of independent film when you're you know, penny pinching and everyone's in it for the love. My longest day I think is 27 hours, and about 8 hours into it I called in a second and third unit friend on the day to be like, can you get down here and cover some of this stuff for me? This was on a music video. I had the flu that day, like just a living nightmare. Product looks great at the end of the day, and I think as long as the product looks great, everybody won't regret. You know, we've all given up 24 hours of sleep on travel delays, or you know, staying up all night for New Year's Eve or something. You know, at least at the end of those you have some vague story to tell people over a dinner party. This you have a short film at the end of it, so it's not so bad in hindsight, I think. Yeah.
I was saying that to Marc on the day. I said, I don't care how much we make everyone suffer here. We're going to push through and make this film, because in the end, they're going to look at it and they're going to be happy, and then they'll forget about the pain.
Part of it, yeah, exactly. That is I'm not a big sports fan to watch, but I identify with a lot of coaching mentality. And I think if your coach isn't pushing you, if you don't have a little bit of like disgust and hatred burning in you while it hurts for your coach, you're not training hard enough. And you know, filmmaking, not that anyone should suffer or be put to work too hard, but if you're not being pushed creatively, if you're not being pushed sort of physically to get that's something that you haven't done before, well, what's the point? Anyone can go make a movie. You should be making your movie that you know that will have an ability to stand out. So this film, did you guys take it out on a festival run? Did you do an online release?
We did do the festival circuit. At that point in time, you know, because it was a bit longer than most short films. I think the festival version we sent out was about 11 or 12 minutes, which is tough because most short film festivals, they have like a limit to 6 or 7 minutes. But we did find some that liked it, or there was a category for it. The ones where we did play, we had some great screenings. I think I'm trying to think what we won a whack of an awards. I think at one festival, Marc and I won a directing award, which I was very proud of. You know, because you know there's is such tough competition out there. There's so many films, especially short films, being made all the time. You know, and I don't know. I was very proud. There was one particular screening I got to tell you about, because it still stands as my absolutely most favorite screening we had of any of our films. And I don't know why they scheduled it this way. The film before was this very heartwarming story of a young girl about 8 years old who befriends a boy with physical and mental challenges and stands up for him against bullies. Beautiful story.
Yep.
Really well acted by the children. Then after that came The Elusive Man, which is totally different. It's very dark. Now at this
hey kids, I hope you like Reservoir Dogs, because here comes The Elusive Man. Yeah.
Well, at this screening, the director had brought all the children and their parents from the movie. Now the children, for some reason, I was so lucky, were sitting right in front of me. So when the F-bombs and the darkness of the movie started happening, the kids were bouncing up and down in the chairs and laughing their heads off.
That's funny.
And at the Q&A afterwards, the director wouldn't even look at me. And I actually had
I mean, you didn't program it, you just made it, you know?
Well, I even had a children's film circulating the circuit at that time, a very similar type of feeling. And we were both playing together in Chicago the next weekend. I said, oh, I think we're together in Chicago next weekend with this children. No, you're not. No, it's a children's film. No, absolutely impossible. She just was beside herself. But that's The Elusive Man. It gets very strong reactions, and that's why I'm proud of it.
That's what's fun too, is being able to play. I don't know if you're like me. I hope that none of my films that I make will ever look like the last. Like, I have a feature that's a super gory horror movie. Then the next one is like a break your heart drama. And now I'm, in post on a sci-fi film. And I think that's part of the fun, is being able to play in all genres equally. I really don't like the idea of being pigeonholed into like, oh, you're a horror guy. Here you go. Let's just keep making these kind of movies. And the sensibilities are, it's making any movie it's the same process, but it's fun it does change the approach based on the genre. And I feel like that to me keeps it exciting and fresh. When you're what would you say, because I have lived in Toronto, and I find this interesting with people I interview, do you find anything unique or what Toronto might offer as a strength to the film community? Like, you're making indie film, is there something that Toronto does better than other regions?
Well, we're a big film community. I always say you can't swing a cat without hitting an actor. So there's really no excuse not to get your film made. We're lucky we work in the film business, myself and Marc, so we have a lot of connections to finding crew. It's probably harder now because, believe me, everybody's working. If I could clone myself, I'd be on 2 more shows. It's really, really super busy up here. But I don't know if you remember that in the montage, that in the Elusive Man, they refer to Toronto as culturally void Toronto.
Yes.
And that was kind of my frustration with the Canadian film festivals that never seemed to program our films. We would go to the States and play. I can't remember how many film festivals Remote played. I think it was over 100 at some point and won all sorts of awards. But in Canada, it would still get the cold shoulder. A couple of our films did okay in Canada. They were the more kind of arty drama ones. But it just
seems to be the way. I often say, if a great film is made in Canada and nobody sees it, did it ever exist? It's like the tree falls in the forest. There's a weird, the simple attitude, and my wife being an actress would hear it, as you have to leave Canada and go find some moderate success in America or the UK or somewhere else, and then all of a sudden Canada will be like, oh, who's this? Why aren't we casting her? And we did that, kind of thinking it was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek joke, or maybe just some bitter talk from some people. And sure as heck, we go to LA. She books a few big network shows, and Canada starts calling. So I feel it's shifting a little bit. There's a little bit more like, let's take care of our own, but especially with, it's the genre and action and sci-fi side of things that seem to get overlooked here. But I just think, as a culture in general, genre films, even on the business side of it, the success of genre films has just been climbing and climbing and climbing, that it's undeniable. So I think the Canadian film system, and so and there are also these wonderful festivals like Blood in the Snow in Toronto, and Fantasia in Montreal, and Toronto After Dark, and all these like dedicated horror or genre festivals. I think they become the forefront of making sure these types of films can't be denied in Canada.
Absolutely. From a business point of view, though, organizations like Telefilm don't recognize those genre festivals. And therein lies the problem. When you're looking for, say, funding, they want to see, did you play TIFF? Did you play the Vancouver Film Festival? Did you play, and there's like the few anointed ones, and their short films that they play are only what I would call art dramas. And
it's that's what I was joking. If you're a movie about a young person moving to the big city from small town Saskatchewan to pursue your dream of art school, then you'll play all those festivals. It's I mean, that's a whole other, because we could have a whole hour-long panel on that. Are you developing, are you working on any of your own projects right now? Something coming together?
Well, it's I took a break from film for a little while, as far as directing projects. I was gonna do something, then the pandemic hit.
Heard of it?
Yeah. So I ended up doing some animated shorts, which is weird. I'm not an animator, but I thought, well, here I am in my basement by myself. Time to learn animation. So I did those, and I'm right in the process of writing something with Marc Roussel right now, which will be a radio play.
Listen, radio plays, audio, that scripted audio space is really interesting. I just saw Bob Odenkirk give a talk just for laughs in Montreal, talking about this new audio drama they had done, and the sort of limitless options when you don't have to have physical locations, and you don't even have to necessarily gather actors into the same room to make the thing. It got me thinking, like going through my laundry list of like larger budget ideas, where I'm like, oh, if I don't need the special effects, it's just audio. Maybe that's a space for them. Maybe I'm too pigeonholing of thinking this as a movie versus entertainment in some other form.
Well, a lot of it came from me having insomnia during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Is I couldn't sleep, so I found I was putting on radio shows at night. And one thing I haven't talked about, believe it or not, I was stupid enough to start playing music again, and I have a band that tours a lot between Canada and Upper New York State and whatnot. And we have a record deal, and we have records selling around the world. So I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to do a radio play and intersperse the music in that? So that's kind of where I'm going with that, just because after you've done so many albums of 12, 14, 16 songs, it just becomes yet another album of 12, 14, 16 songs. So I wanted to do something using my drama background. So that was the idea of the radio play, and we're just starting to hash that story out now.
What's the band? You can plug it on here.
Yeah. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Shameless.
Oh, there we go. Yes.
The Wasagas. So if you like surf instrumental music, if you like that Pulp Fiction sound, we do that. We're on a UK label called Sharawaji and an American record label called Missing Fink. So,
but not a Canadian one. There's a theme here.
Yeah, there's nothing in Canada for what I do. So.
Amazing. We try to keep these things nice and short. So that's it for today. Marc, thanks for joining us. Everybody out there, please go watch Elusive Man on Reveel'd.net. You do not need to put down a credit card. You don't need a monthly subscription. It's 100% free to watch all of this amazing content. If you're a filmmaker, if you're an actor, if you're getting into any kind of film production, you want to be on Reveal. You will meet all of your collaborators. You will be inspired constantly in all sorts of genres, features, documentaries, shorts, animation. It's all there. So make Elusive Man the first thing you check out when you sign up. And Marc, thanks again for joining.
I just want to say this is the first on-screen appearance of Ken Hall, who's in the Umbrella Academy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Ken was the actor who plays, was it Pongo the Ape? And he's also the alien in Jeff the Grey in People of Earth. So
wow.
This is his first on screen. We met him, and then
so he was non-union at the time, and he's built his career up since then.
He hasn't done anything. He was basically in sketch comedy, and our one actor didn't turn up. And I just looked at the actors. I said, "Who's got a friend who wants to be in a movie?"
Amazing.
And George said, "I got a friend, and he's a great comedian." I said, "Get him down here. I'll pay his cab."
That's amazing.
He up, well, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's actually really a great actor." I kept on throwing him extra lines and including him more into it. And to pay him back, we went and filmed his sketch comedy, which got him in sketch comedy festivals around the world. And then, he's just an amazing guy, and I'm so happy for his success.
The humble beginnings of a Netflix star. Who'd have thunk, right? Dreams do come true. That's super inspiring. Yeah, I always hope that something that I create will be the one I really want is like to put a band that I work with that I know, an indie band, on a soundtrack of my film and have that, I don't know if soundtracks are as relevant anymore as they used to be, but there was always that one or two songs that would break because of placement in a movie or a TV show. I'm like, that's like my dying wish. If I could do that for an indie musician friend, that would please me to no end.
Well, I'll send you some music, because I got to tell you, we've had songs in various TV shows, and the streaming on those is through the roof.
Yeah, it's because immediately now you don't even have to like search for it. You just either Shazam it while you're listening to it, or read the credits, or Google it, and you can find the tune immediately. I have playlists full of things that I found in television shows.
Yeah. So you believe it or not, you're doing favors to those bands. It's a big deal.
Amazing. Marc, thanks so much. That extra tidbit is well worth it to have almost pushed our time limit, but that's great. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having us on Reveel'd. I've already got it on Roku, and I'm watching the films, and they're great. So kudos to all the filmmakers.